Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this webinar today on MarcomGather. And I guess without further ado, I'll pass it on to Eric Hazard, who'll be giving everybody a overview of MarcomGather. Eric?
Great, thanks, Josh. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules here in the middle of the week to join us for today's presentation, really covering what MarcomGather is. So we'll take a little bit more a look about who we are as a company briefly, talk about maybe the need for dams in the space and really what is a dam, right, or digital asset management tool as it's referred to. And of course, we're gonna stay tuned for the end of the presentation because they are doing a door prize giveaway. So please stay tuned to the end. MarcomCentral. We are not a new company. The product MarcomGather is a new product for our company, but we have actually been around for over 20 years. We have a very successful distributed marketing platform that's used worldwide. It has more of a customization aspect to it, and we're headquartered in the beautiful beachy town of Solana Beach, just north of San Diego. Over 21 years producing, manufacturing, and that product. But like I said, MarcomGather is brand new for us, and that's why we're eager to show it to you guys here today. Some of the brands that we worked with over the last 20 plus years, you'll see a kind of a different kind of vertical set in here, all the way from nonprofits to manufacturing, of course, even into restaurant, and of course, healthcare and financial. Universities and higher education as well. So there's a lot of brands that use us, they trust us for a lot of things that they deliver to their clients, end users, as well as internal sales reps. So one of the things that we'll talk about is, of course, who is in need of a centralized system like this and why, right? So it's more than just a drive, right? It's a little bit more than just a Dropbox, right? There's a need for this why, as we've all found out too, is that COVID happened, right? Pandemics, and everybody needed to be a little bit more nimble than possibly they were. Maybe some people were unprepared, right? So over the last 16 months or so, people have started to become more savvy in the way that they share assets, right? Something that needs to be a tool that's easy to use, right? That can share, create things. But we've also know that this explosive digital file and asset growth is tremendous in today's space, right? So it's almost, if you don't have an asset management tool at this point, you may be a little bit behind the eight ball, right? So there's a great quote here by McKinsey saying, we expect to see noticeable growth in the number of digital assets and the need for supporting software. So again, this MarTech industry, the name is kind of new, but like I said, we've been in this space for 20 years, but this whole access to digital content and control over it is going to be more important than ever. And really where we see ourselves is kind of that hub in between, right? So you'll have outside channel partners, you may have sales reps, you may have regional marketers that all need access to your collateral, whether or not that's a flyer, a spec sheet, a brochure, maybe even a vendor that just needs a logo for ad placement, right? So all these individuals are coming from different places that have needs. So whether or not they have access to your collateral or somebody in that role can easily distribute that collateral. So whether or not we're going to download it, whether or not we want to link in a share file to it, or we want to actually segment the audience and allow just a segment of the user group to visualize or see those collection of assets. But most important, we also have analytics and reporting that govern the entire thing. So we'll be able to see what assets are actually being utilized. We'll be able to see what users are our power users in the system and what they're utilizing. So again, the digital asset management is the hub. It is the foundation of your marketing building block, right? That all your assets can be stored and distributed from. And as we get into that, let's take a look at MarcomGather. And on this login screen, you'll see as soon as I sign in, every login, of course, has a unique password, of course, that's invited into MarcomGather. But once we log into the tool, you'll immediately see that I'm inside the system. There is no admin interface. It's actually one and the same. And the way that we divvy this is by control of user roles. And again, if we look at the top of the screen, we'll see library and analytics. So we'll get to analytics down the line, but immediately you're into the all assets or the collections in the system. Very quickly, you can change your views from small images to large images, right, depending on, of course, your screen size. You can view by recently uploaded, last modified, A to Z or Z to A, so alphabetically. You can also view this as a list view, right? So again, every user is a little bit different in how they like to view information. So that availability is certainly available to you here in the UI or the GUI of the system. But what we're doing is managing the user preferences by role. So in the top right, I have a gear, and that gear is only available to users that have admin rights. And as I come in here, you'll see a number of sections on the left-hand side. First off, it'll see my account information, but it also will show me the storage capacity. So you'll always have real time about how much space you're actually utilizing. In the base package of MarcomGather, it is unlimited users, and it comes with 250 gigabytes. You can certainly add additional blocks of storage if you like in 250 gigabyte increments, or if you know you need more out of the gate, maybe you reserve up to a terabyte, and our sales reps will be happy to work with you on a solution for those. But unlimited users, storage capacity, right? But also the availability to own it, right? So there's a branding aspect to this as well. So you're going to be able to upload a logo. It can be PNG, JPEG, or SVG file type. There'll be some more branding options that'll be coming online soon, and I'll talk about those a little bit later down the line. But we're looking at users and the actual permissions of those users. So I'm currently logged in as an admin, which means I have all user privileges. I see every tool and feature that is available in the system. The next user or role in our system is a contributor. A contributor will probably be more likely most of the people that are implementing the tool. They have the availability to upload and edit, they can comment, they can share, but they can also delete assets, right? So they have really governance over the architecture or taxonomy of the entire system. And finally, the last viewer or role in the system is a viewer, which means that they can simply just preview and download assets. So these will probably be the end users of the consuming of this asset. So whether or not it's a third-party vendor, maybe a sales rep out in the field, or maybe somewhere down in a sales meeting that's getting a PowerPoint or brochures or information about a product line. So these three roles really dictate what they see and do in the system. One of these other things that you see is that there's actually groups that are available in the system as well. Now, groups, of course, in an easy context is simply just a way to segment your user audience. And here you can have as many groups as you like. Here's just a couple examples of what I have. One may be my brand managers. So those are the product owners inside my system. So they have a little bit more maybe governance over the entire application. And then I have third-party vendors that maybe have a sliver of those items. Now you can always create new. You'll see new group up in the top hand right, but you can also edit items inside the system. And if I edit these, again, all it is a name and a description. The way that we utilize these groups, of course, once they're established, is that they're filtered out from the actual collection side. And we're going to see that once we get into the library itself. The other tool that you'll see in here as an admin is the availability to create metadata profiles. So that's really big inside DAM systems. And I do kind of have a little bit of a segue here talking about what a DAM really does, right? There's really only 6 things that a really digital asset management tool should do. And one is that it should organize content. It should be able to search for content, so find things very quickly. Should be able to download or share those assets very quickly. Version control and history, so some of these things that you're going to see through the system. And of course, access control, right? So access control is limiting users into the system like groups. And this actually, these metadata profiles allow you to have more content that's searchable. So in here, what I mean by these is that you'll see when we upload the system, there's date fields. There could be other text fields or drop downs or checkboxes or UIs or different UIs or like radio buttons that you want to add to these form fields that maybe are relevant to you as an organization. Maybe legal or compliance says we need a date field, I need an author, and I need to know what department this works in. So if it's a drop down, I can add this in here. I can actually add different fields, I can label it, and then I create the drop down menu. So if we know it's for a certain type of department, we can list those and make it easier for that user to associate it when they're onboarding these assets. So these are customizable for each type of asset. And I think that's important to see here because there are different types of assets that are storable. It's not just always graphic elements. Certainly that is the number one thing you'll see in here, but sometimes it's more collaboration. You may actually see working files like design files or document files. You may even see fonts being stored or shared in here as well. But the other 2 keys in here are video and audio. So those 2 can actually be stored in here as well and shared. And there's a really unique setting to these that actually allows you to preview all these assets inside the system. So if we use this little logo in the top right, it will actually get us right back to the home menu. And you'll notice that it's stuck to my original setting, so it is user driven about how you want to view content. Again, the main thing in here is the searchability aspect, right? If I click in here, it actually showed me my recently viewed assets, right? It knows me by user inside the system. It also has some recent searches. So one of the key things, again, inside the system is finding what you need. So from an end user perspective, we have a number of brands in here, but one of them is a restaurant brand. So maybe we're looking for a plate of food. And immediately it hits any imagery or asset that has that as a tag within the system, right? So how do we tag these items? Well, there's a lot of different ways that we can tag them. In fact, if we view one of these items, you'll see most of the utilities here in the top. So it gives me the file name. It shows me the crumb trail of where this asset lives. But very quickly, I could download this. And one of the other tools about a DAM is that it does give you different versions inside the system. So here you're able to immediately download the original file, which generally is the highest quality, but your end users may have different applications. So we immediately will convert that high quality image to low res and high res JPEGs and PNG files. This is one area, as I mentioned, that this is a brand new product for us, and we have a really rapid roadmap for feature release. One of them is to completely expand this rendition area in here. So we'll give much more capabilities to those users to get the correct version and size of the files they need. But immediately by uploading one asset into the system, we'll convert it automatically onto the fly to most digestible file types that are usable. The other availability to do with products in the system, of course, is share it. So if this is an image that is going up maybe in a mock-up of a menu or a sales promotion, here I need to send it to maybe my designer and said, we're going to use this as the background. I can create a share link. And what this does is give them a URL address that actually expires. So they have a limited time to get to that asset to download it or retrieve it. And another area of improvement in here will be the expiration date. You'll be able to change that from just 7 days to 14 to 21 or 30, and then 60 days, I believe, are going to be the options in here. But again, different ways to share those assets. And it's very quick, right? I have a graphical preview of the image. I can see what it looks like. I have different file types, and then I have a quickly way to distribute it out of the tool. I can either download it and use it myself, or I can share it to any other team members or any other vendors or outside party that may need that actual piece. You'll also notice that there is that kebab menu in here. So as I am an admin user, I do have the availability to edit this image, which means I can upload a revision. So one of the things that we talk about in those 6 core features of digital asset management is version control and history. So anytime I upload a revision, we're going to make note of that, right? That's also going to be part of those analytics that we'll see. But I also have the availability to delete this asset, right? So if you actually look at the edit button in here, you'll actually see the information. And this is the metadata form, again, that we can control and customize based off of asset. If there is already tags or metadata associated to those images, those will be uploaded with it, perhaps the author or even some base tags in that piece. And what I mean by tags, guys, are these keywords in the bottom section in here. So these are manually entered, or I can enter these in bulk as I import a bunch of images in, which I am going to show you in this demonstration. Right, but I have summary information, I have the file information, the file name, the data was uploaded, it was modified, and the image type. This 60% complete doesn't mean that it's not usable, it just means that the description and the author field are blank. So again, 40% of this form is incomplete. Again, with your compliance, you may have a need to make sure that these forms are relevant to your needs, and so that's why you can edit these and customize those per asset. Of course, making things required will also be available in a future release. Now, I still have the same utility, but there's also another tab in here that shows me the history. So again, if there was a revision date in here, I'd be able to see it. I can see when it was originally uploaded, right? So this gives me really great details about the life of this asset so far as it exists inside the system, and whether or not it's actually been updated or edited throughout its life, right? So interacting with assets, right? We can search for them. It makes it very easy. These keywords, these tags, there's also a filter option on the right-hand side. So maybe you don't know what you're looking for and you're just really browsing. So here you can either change the filter from all time, and maybe you want to, again, change that down to this month. So it's going to look for the last 30 days and return assets that have been uploaded. Maybe we're looking for specific types, maybe like an image that comes into the system. Well, what's even nice in here is too, is I can filter out by tags that are universal in the system, or I can even filter out by file size. Right? Maybe I know that I'm doing a web application or an email application, so I'm just looking for smaller web-based images that I can repurpose for my needs. Right? So again, another tactile way to drill down to find what you need. And it even tells me that I've got those 3 filters plugged in here. There's also a nice little clear option that resets that filter very quickly. Right? So just like inside the search button, right? If I search, I get kind of a hidden menu, almost like an Easter egg, if you will. So it shows me those recently viewed recent searches. Same thing with the filter. I can always reset those relatively easily inside the system. Now, the basic taxonomy in the organization of the asset tool is based off of collections. In this particular instance, again, I'm kind of in the model here or use case that I'm a brand manager, and I have a number of brands under our belt. One is Beacons, the restaurant I was referring to earlier, Jensen Financial, which is a banking institution, Seaside Health, of course, a healthcare, and then some other smaller brands that we're working on, the Annex and the Point, right? So this taxonomy is all up to you guys and how that you're actually storing these contents. You can have sub collections. So even though I have a master one here for Beacons, if I filter this out right to logos, then I have those options. And remember what I said about user permissions, right? So if you go to the root level of the folders and I hit the Beacons, again, these kebab menus is what they're affectionately known in the GUI world, is another shortcut. So I can upload additional assets. I can rename that collection as long as I have the right. I could delete it. But now I get into permissions. So this is, again, how you start to filter out, again, access by group. So again, really segmenting that. So if you know those third-party vendors aren't privy to some of our other information that sales rep utilize, again, limit the view, limit the catalog, limit the assets that they can see, and therefore they still have access to the system, can download and share as they need to, but ultimately, you guys are still controlling the access, right? And the file types, essentially, that are available to them. Right? So let's look at how we get something into the system, right? So far we've seen the UI and the layout. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. Certainly, as you notice, I could click here and hit upload assets, or I can hit the upload assets right at the top, right? The upload assets at the top gives you a little bit more flexibility because if I add it to a collection, it's directly going into that collection. Doesn't mean it lives there permanently. I'm always going to be able to move those. But if I use the upload option at the top, I'm able to add to those collections or choose immediately where they go, add the metadata, and customize each individual assets if I want. Now, this is where the onboarding is really easy, guys, right? It's simple drag and drop technology. So I can either drag and drop right into this box, or you can browse to your computer. I just happen to have a folder open. So we will do is take some of these images in here. We'll drag them in here and immediately download them. And what you'll see again is that the previews will build automatically. Right? And I think that's a really big distinction from some of the entry point file share tools that you may already be accustomed to using. They really are just folder architecture. There's no way for you to see what that file is. You may only need one image inside that folder. How do you get to it? So some of those can be challenging because there's no graphical element to it, but there's also really no way to search for those items as well. So these, again, eliminate this more in a user-friendly format. You can see that once they're uploaded, I can continue to upload. Remember, I told you 250 gigabytes is the storage limit. Right now, when you upload images into the system or whatever collateral you're bringing in, that upload or drag and drop mechanism right there has a cap at 1 gigabyte. So if you ever have a need for more than 1 gigabytes, again, contact us internally. We'll help you get those larger files or assets inside the system. Again, be cognitive of your internet speed, right? I have a T1 connection here at work. Certainly those 20, 30 megs move really quickly, but as we know, we're working remotely. If we're onboarding things, right, keep that in mind about that speed in process, okay? Now, the second step is it completely walks me through this. I can also delete these assets if I inadvertently uploaded one I did not need. But if I go to the next step, I can actually add these to the collection. So I can segment these. If I know all 5 of these are going into the same, easy to do, right? I can actually say, yeah, they're all going to Beacons, right? And in fact, all these are going to go inside my subfolder, culture and imagery, because these are external shots that we use in promotion, right? So again, I'm navigating, I'm uploading, I'm navigating, I'm already deciding where these are going. So we're organizing, right off the bat. So I'm going to move those 5 assets. Boom, they're inside the system. Now remember, it breaks these up by asset type. These are all imagery, but if I had uploaded videos or audio, I would see those as separate subcategories in here. So now it allows you to kind of manage this particular piece, right? I'm going to go next step, which is the data in here. And this again is also using artificial intelligence, guys. So anytime I'm uploading imagery into the system, there is a bunch of robots going to work looking at my imagery and looking for keywords. What I have the availability to do here is add tags that apply to all 5 of these particular fields. Remember, just like anything else in the system, these are completely editable as I bring them in. So if I have duplicates, and let's keep in mind too that artificial intelligence is not exactly flawless. So it may misname things, right? Ideally, we want to make sure that these images or anything that we're using is descriptive so those end users can find what they need. So I'm going to put that these are just stock imagery. So I'll throw in my author as stock. Some tags I'll put in here, again, exterior. And there's a couple of different ways you can write these. You can see that there's a pop-up as I begin to type. Again, the algorithm inside the system to keep consistency in our naming conventions, if I start to type things that have already been mentioned before, right, like beach, it's actually there. So again, it allows me to be consistent in my tagging, right? So I can keep tagging these individually. Let's just add a couple more in here. Let's say dining. And of course, you could add it this way as well, too. You can do food. You can make this a comma separated list in here as well. And let's call patio, right? So I can add these in. Now I can apply all these to all 5 assets. Like I said, or I can deselect them and apply it to them individually. But we're going to apply these to all 5. And now my metadata is complete. Now the next step is, and again, you can skip these at any time, is to customize these. So this allows me to look at each individual asset and tailor make either the description or the naming convention, or if I did want to change the author out individually, I could. But here's where we can actually see the tags that we added versus the automated tags, right? So our robots inside the system saw sky, water, furniture, chair, umbrella, and outdoor. I saw chair, so again, I can delete a tag just by clicking the X in here to make them a little bit more robust, right? But I missed sun, right? Got to put the sun out there, shiny day, right? I can continue and go to the next access. Again, you'll see different automated tags. This one picked up furniture, chair, kitchen, and dining room table, right? So I could add ambiance. I could add whatever we're looking for. Again, that's descriptive. Maybe this is a background image, right? So maybe we want to make that background. Right? So always amending these tags. And as we save and finish, it gives us an upload summary. This is a kind of a collapsible window up here. So it shows me those 5 images, right? But I can actually dismiss this little image messagery, and it takes me right to the collection that I just added these images to, right? And so they're immediately available. And again, if we want to even view one of these, here's this great one in here. And I like this one too, because I think it shows, let's edit this one. Yeah, I like the automated tags on here. Because again, it's almost perfect, right? It's table, sky, water. It sees the beaches and the waves in there. So it's very descriptive, but again, you always probably want to double check. Again, AI is always learning. So the more we add to it, the more it learns, right? So getting content in the system, how we onboard it, right? Pretty easy utility, right? How we share it, how we distribute it. Again, really at our fingertips, the way that we onboard these products and kind of get us in those directions with drag and drop utilities, very easy to use, but most importantly is the graphical interface, right? I'm easily to be able to see what I need. And one of the things that I talked about was to be able to preview things inside the system. So this is a video, and I won't play the whole thing since we're in the middle of a demonstration in here, but how convenient is it if that you have a video library and maybe that user doesn't quite know what video they want to see or utilize. Here they can actually watch them inside the system, right? Before they download it or before they share it. So previewing even audio clips, right? So a lot of that is really going to help users find, because we know that it's not just a tactile world, right? It's also a visual world. So again, most people are finding their assets simply maybe by looking for those. You know, again, different types of collateral in here for the banking, right? I have all kinds of sales flyers that are in here. Right? So again, if I'm easily downloading these different types of flyers, easy to do, right? Download or share. Okay. And access control, right? Using groups to control who has vision to this. Now, the biggest component to this, or one of the bigger components to this in my estimation, of course, is analytics, right? There has to be a return on investment. Who is using my system, right? Or how is my system being utilized? So at the top, we have some analytics. This is powered by one of our partners, Sisense. They power our DM tool, but they provide these great graphical illustrations. And this is, like I said, worth 1,000 words, right? The pictures here. So you'll see two different dashboards on the left-hand side. You'll see asset performance and user performance. So very quickly, you get a glimpse at asset by asset type. Of course, I'm using more images in these particular illustrations, but documents, other could be my video that's in here. Actually, my video is right there at 7%. But I can also see what assets are being downloaded most frequently, right? So top 10 in here and assets usage over time. Now, the red box says unused assets is 104. I just built this site, so 104 means that I haven't downloaded 104 items out of the 113 that are in the system, right? Most of the things I do is demo, so I'm not completely downloading or completing the actions, but it does give me a track of how many times it's been shared, how many times it's been downloaded, how many times those links have been instituted. And then you also get a link at user performance. Now, it's not going to be overly dynamic in here because it's generally just myself in this particular site. So I am the 100% power user at this point. But the idea is user logins, assets over time. So I start to see that adoption rate. So again, if you're unrolling this to your organization, are people using it? Right now, I know that they're using. Now let's see what they're using and how they're using. Are they downloading more than they're sharing? Right? What is our internal workflow? And this again gives you insight to your organization, how they use content, and may actually help you forecast and build for those things in the end. So an analytic tool is invaluable, again, from an admin standpoint, or almost just from an ROI standpoint, to make sure that we're hitting our 6 key features. Is my content organized? Are people being able to search and find what they need, right? Can they download it? Are they sharing it? Is there revision or history control that we're managing, right? Is there access control of my groups? Who's using those groups inside the system, right? And of course, on the right-hand side, you can break it out by years, right? So again, it's all by default as all years. You can look even specifically by quarter. So again, if we're comparing quarter over quarter, or even month to month, right? So you've got different filters in here. These reports, of course, are completely exportable. So there's that little kind of kebab menu right here. So you can download an image or a CSV file, right? So if you're creating reports, anything to prove the worth of the tools in here, these reporting mechanisms in here will help you compile those reports. Right? So that's the library or the analytics aspect of it. And again, I'll go back here to the library just to touch on a couple more things here before we kind of get to Q&A. Again, one of the things I mentioned is kind of a rapid roadmap, right? This is a brand new, if you will, 1.0 product offering, right? So this is what we consider to be the 6 main pillars of the dam, right? The things that I described to you. Now, certainly there's going to be improvements into the system. So the things that I mentioned were revisions. Revisions are when we look at imagery and how we're actually downloading these, right? So what are the file types that are available? Can I crop that image, right? These are things, again, that will probably be coming online, right? Other tools that we talked about were maybe making fields required, but one of the great features that is really excited about, probably coming sooner than later, is a kind of a my favorites feature. And this my favorites will, again, allow users to kind of create a separate collection that, again, we're going to be able to share, right? So again, we lock down that access control. Now the users can create a favorite or a subset of their collections, sometimes known as a light box in the industry, that we can repurpose and share and distribute it. So if you are in a collaboration phase, this allows you to distribute those files to your teammates, again, in a GUI type aspect where they can easily download, share, make changes, drop them back in, right? More in a collaborative workspace, or in just a simply push and pull type of relationship, right? If people are just grabbing assets, imagery for creative, sales sheets for sales reps or brochures, right? Background photography for marketers, right? So there's a ton of applications for the tool. And again, I want to thank you guys for your time today. And I think we're going to move to Q&A here. So again, I'm going to pass it back to Josh, and I appreciate your guys' time in listening to me today.
Hey, Eric, thanks so much. Yeah, so we're going to go ahead and roll right into Q&A. We've got a couple of questions. If you have any more, please drop them in the chat. The first question today, Eric, is on the free trial. Somebody wants to know, is the free trial limited in any way? aside
Oh, that's
from
a great.
obviously it being 30 days, right?
No, yeah, and that's a great question. I didn't even bring that up. So, yeah, if in case you guys didn't know, or if you were just invited to this, certainly this tool, MarcomGather, is available for a no-risk 30-day free trial, right? There is no limitations to that 30-day trial, so you still have unlimited users, 250 gig. All features are available to you. You can distribute it, put it against your influencers or the decision makers, and absolutely test it. And let us know what you think. Absolutely. There's no difference between the trial version and the production version.
Great. Let's see. So next question, and I know we touched, excuse me, I know we touched a little bit on this. Next question is, kind of what's coming up for MarcomGather? What can people expect for the future? What are the next kind of 2 to 3 features we're looking to release? And then in addition to that, I'm going to roll another question in here, Eric. Hope you're good.
I'm ready.
In addition to that, we got a question about somebody having hundreds of users, right, who want to access a dam system. SSO functionality, right? Is that something that we're looking at, kind of a thing?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, those are all really good questions. So, first one, yeah, I did mention a couple different things in there. I mentioned basically like favorites and the availability to share those collections, improvements on renditions. One of the other biggest things that you'll probably see immediately into the system, one will be responsive design. All the way to mobile. We don't think that there's a need for an app for this, so we think we can solve that easily with a responsive design to mobile. We are already compliant to tablets, so it's just a little bit more programming to get there. So that actually will come really fast. There is going to be, again, probably one of the most critical aspects that we see too is more of integrations and connectors. So some people may already be living in that Dropbox world and trying to get off of it more into a GUI that's a little bit more easier to use. And so we'll look into some connectors and integrations into those where you can actually almost like a single sign-on to some degree, where I can log into my Google account, and if I have things on Google Drive, I can import those into the system. So you'll see a lot of those things. On the creative side, probably integrations maybe into Creative Cloud down the line. So if your designers or your I guess your creatives are working in that space, they can certainly push content directly from there into the dam where it's consumable. So those are probably the biggest thing. Multi-file share is also coming. Actually, I didn't even show that, but it is available. Multi-file share right now, if I select these multiple items, I need all of those 5 that I just brought in the system. If I come up here to the top, I can actually download all 5 assets, and I can choose these. Now, it is universal as to what file types I get here, but if I download this, those collections do come over as a zip, and they're loading right here. So it's a zip file that contains multiple assets. So the actual file sharing is actually, as we speak, like I said, rapid deployment on some of these roadmap features. We don't even have a set Scrum timetable anymore. We kind of do what we call fluid release. So anytime a feature is ready and tested, it's out. So a lot of these things are rolling out quickly. So great question there. To follow up with the single sign-on, hundreds of users. So again, we're looking at social kind of single sign-ons right now at the moment into Google, maybe even, like I said, to other applications. But yes, even if you need to go from your own network into MarcomGather and seamlessly pass credentials in, yes, that is something, again, that we're exploring. And one of the things, too, in this onboarding phase, we're thinking about putting in even maybe an onboarding package that maybe help you look at these connectors and help you get things that, again, are kind of, most of the people we talk to is they have 1,000 assets all over the place, and that may or may not even be backed up. Okay, that's another thing we didn't really talk about, which storage and security, right? So again, this is a cloud-based application. It's hosted on Microsoft Azure. So the backup, the disaster plans, I mean, those are all taken care of. So that gives you a lot of peace of mind in where they live inside the system. But certainly these tools that we keep talking about to improve it are rapidly coming, and the use of hundreds of users inside the system, passing them in by single sign-on, absolutely is something that we're actually looking at currently at the moment. So a lot of great questions there.
Great, thanks, Eric. we got one more question. This will be real quick, and then we'll move on to our giveaways because I know we're kind of running out of time here. Do we charge by user? Are there any different user tiers in terms of like what do we charge for that?
Yeah, so again, that's if you're looking at some different types of tools out there on the market, you may have a quick entry point, but as soon as you start adding users to it, those costs exponentially go up. So again, in our package, it's unlimited users. So we do not charge by user. You have 250 gigabytes is the storage capacity of the base platform, but if you need more storage, you can buy those in blocks of 250, but unlimited users, absolutely. No charge per user.
Great, fantastic. Well, thank you everybody for all the questions. If we did not get to your question today, we will be reaching out to answer that question. But I do want to go ahead and move on and get to our winners for the gift cards. The winners will be, let me check here, Suzanne Cohen and Ed Parker. So congratulations to both of you. We'll be reaching out to make sure you get your prizes. And for everybody else, thanks again for joining us. Recording will be sent to you in a few days, and we really appreciate it. Eric, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate your time as well. Appreciate it, Josh.
Great. Have a great day. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.